An impoverished ice cream truck driver spent half a year studying a prize game show and successfully uncovered a hidden loophole in the system. After that, he traveled a long way to the TV station to compete. On the day of filming, he won the $100,000 prize in one fell swoop, equivalent to about $350,000 in today's purchasing power. In 1949, the story's protagonist, Michael Larson, was born in Ohio. His father worked at a local paint shop, and his mother stayed home to manage the household. With an ordinary family background, he never had the chance to set foot on a college campus. But even as a youth, Larson had already shown an unusual level of obsessiveness and talent. He was obsessed with uncovering patterns others couldn't see in baseball statistics, product pricing, and lottery odds. In his 20s, Larson made quite a few speculative attempts that exploited loopholes in the rules. He bought defective TV sets at low prices, refurbished them, and resold them as brand new. He opened multiple checking accounts and profited through shuffling money between the accounts. He always firmly believed in his own guiding principle for life. He also once confessed to his cousin Edna McDuffie that everything has its own pattern. All you have to do is find it. In 1983, the 34-year-old Larson hit rock bottom in life. Both marriages ended in failure. He was completely unemployed, with no steady income. He could only live rent-free in his brother James's basement. He eked out a meager income just by driving an ice cream truck on weekends. He had spent half his life drifting from place to place, always waiting for a system he could crack. And a brand new variety show on CBS happened to become the opportunity fate had in store for him. On September 19, 1983, Press Your Luck officially debuted in the CBS daytime lineup. The rules of the show were simple and straightforward. 3 contestants earned spins of the wheel by buzzing in to answer fun trivia questions. At the heart of the stage was a wall-sized giant illuminated game board. It was divided into 18 squares. They cycled at random, displaying rewards like cash, vacation packages, and extra spins. At the same time, it hid the show's signature trap, the Devil Square. Once the lights stopped on the Devil Square, the contestants' total winnings for that round would be wiped out completely. The indicator lights cycled back and forth in a steady heartbeat rhythm, and the players pressed a button to stop it and lock it in, determining the final prize. The production team heavily promoted it, branding this giant game board as the most unpredictable random device on American television. However, beneath the glossy publicity, there were tricks hidden away. The landing point of the board's lights was, in fact, not truly random. 6 weeks before the show's premiere, due to a tight schedule and a limited budget, the hardware was outdated. The production team urgently hired an outside programmer, Robert Edge, to write the game board software. Limited by the computing power of the hardware at the time and the high cost of true random number generation technology, together with the extreme 6-week deadline, Edge abandoned complex, true random algorithms. He took an industry shortcut and wrote 5 fixed looping sequences, named Pattern A through Pattern E. Each sequence had a fixed set of 28 lights. The landing steps looped endlessly, making them look like random flashes. In fact, the entire process was controllable, with no variation at all, although there were only 5 fixed looping sequences, with the visual effect of rapid flashing to the naked eye. Neither the studio audience nor the hundreds of millions watching at home could detect this hidden fixed pattern. Only Larson was willing to pay the extreme time cost to tear open this nationwide deception. October 1983. Larson happened to watch the premiere of Press Your Luck. In just 20 minutes, he picked up on details most people would overlook. The lights weren't jumping at random. Some pause durations had subtle discrepancies, and they would repeatedly land on the same squares in a fixed way. With his keen eye, he immediately concluded that this so-called randomness was nothing but an illusion. To completely crack the pattern, Larson spent all his savings. At the Sears department store in the Dayton shopping mall, he paid $1,400 in cash to buy a second VCR and a 12-inch CRT TV that supported frame-by-frame playback. The 2 devices were neatly set on the wooden table in his brother's basement. One recorded the morning first airing, and the other recorded the afternoon rerun. From then on, he completely shut himself off and cut off all social contact. Refusing to go out, He devoted himself entirely to the tedious work of cracking the pattern. For a full 6 months, he stuck to a strict daily routine. 6 days a week, for hours a day, repeatedly pausing to break down the chessboard footage frame by frame, recording every point where the light landed with each step. In mid-November, he successfully cracked the first set of light sequences. By the end of December, all 5 complete loop patterns had been deciphered and cataloged by him, meticulously recorded in a shorthand notebook. Even more astonishing was that Larson discovered a fatal loophole that even programmer Edge had never noticed. Squares 4 and 8 on the board would never produce demon blocks in the ACE program's 3 core modes, and they always came paired with cash rewards plus extra spins. These 2 squares were absolute safe zones where the game could be extended indefinitely and the winnings steadily accumulated. In the first half of 1984, Larson entered an intensive phase of reviewing and refining. 8 hours a day Monday through Friday, and 10 hours a day on weekends. Holed up in the basement, running through scenarios over and over. He lived on instant coffee and cold cuts, often going days without speaking to anyone. Using 3 shorthand notebooks to precisely record, across 5 modes, the millisecond level timing differences as the lights reached each square. In February of that same year, his cousin Edna came by to bring him food, and witnessed his nearly obsessive state. In response to his cousin's confusion, Larson replied calmly, "I'm preparing for retirement." By then, he already had it all figured out. Extreme refinement brought extreme precision. By late February, his model's prediction hit rate reached 90%, rising to 95% by late March. By April, he was already able to accurately predict the landing points of the next 4 lights in the middle and later stages of any pattern, with an accuracy rate as high as 97%. After lying low for half a year, he had amassed 1,500 hours of in-depth research, far exceeding the time CBS's entire engineering team spent on the design. On April 22, 1984, Larson called the show's toll-free casting hotline to sign up as a contestant. The production team arranged for him to go to Las Vegas for an audition, and would not cover travel expenses. He gladly agreed. On April 28, at the Imperial Palace Hotel in Las Vegas, 35 candidates were auditioned on the same stage. Larson was ranked 22nd. To ensure he would be selected, Larson carefully put on a disguise, crafting the image of an ordinary person who was simple, down on his luck, and devoted to his mother. He fabricated a backstory that his mother was seriously ill and urgently needed money for surgery, and briefly shed tears in front of the camera. He also mocked himself, joking about the awkward life of an ice cream truck driver. During the audition simulation of the wheel, he deliberately made 2 mistakes. Pretending to be annoyed with himself, perfectly disguising himself as an ordinary contestant with average luck and no skill whatsoever. This performance successfully fooled all the judges. Co-producer Tom Nolan noted in a CBS internal memo dated May 2 that Larson was extremely popular with audiences, enough to carry an entire episode. The production team confirmed his eligibility to compete and reimbursed his round-trip airfare to and from Los Angeles, inviting him to take part in the May 19 taping. The production team thought they had picked a down-and-out contestant worthy of sympathy, never imagining that what they were about to face was the most thoroughly prepared, most unbeatable contestant in American TV history. At 9 a.m. on May 19th, Larson walked into Studio 30 at CBS Television City. Competing alongside him were Ed Long, a medical student from New York, and Janie Littrass, a kindergarten teacher from Pennsylvania. In the first round, Larson deliberately held back. With only 3 spins of the wheel, he even intentionally triggered a whammy square to wipe out his winnings once. In the end, he finished with $2,500, looking utterly unremarkable throughout. It dispelled the production team's doubts and made everyone mistakenly think he was just an ordinary contestant. The real legendary moment officially began in the second round. Larson precisely controlled the timing of every button press, locking onto the safe squares number 4 and number 8 every time. 5 spins in a row. 10 spins, 20 spins. Each time it was a cash prize, stacking up extra spin chances. No one could stop his winning streak. In the control room, Tom Nolan watched the monitor and couldn't help but murmur, "This kid is just too lucky." The 25th spin. Larson's winnings broke past $25,000. The entire audience fell deathly silent. On the 30th spin, the production team panicked. They urgently called headquarters to request a stop to the recording, but it was still rejected by the rules. The person in charge said you can't stop someone just because they're having good luck. On the 35th spin, the winnings topped $80,000. The host broke from the script and proactively urged Larson to quit while he was ahead. But he refused with a smile. As the button was pressed, it was still the best possible prize. On the 40th spin, his winnings officially surpassed $100,000, setting a record in the show's history. In a basement 2,000 miles away, his brother James stayed by that old 12-inch TV, witnessing his younger brother's comeback the whole way through. Aside from Larson, he was the only one who knew all the secrets. Sitting in silence, utterly shaken to the core. After the 45th spin, the prolonged, intense focus made Larson's right hand tremble slightly. With his mental energy nearing its limit, his pattern memory began to blur. To hold on to his gains and eliminate the chance of mistakes, he chose to stop of his own accord. The entire match came to an end. In the end, Larson took home $104,000 in cash, plus 2 vacation packages with a total value of $5,287. The total prize money set a new record for the show's single-day history. Single-handedly, he won more than the combined prize money of all contestants from previous seasons. He calmly accepted the giant check and, unfazed throughout, walked off. The day after the taping ended, CBS immediately launched the largest-scale contestant investigation in its history. Engineers conducted a full scan of the contestants' podiums and dismantled the button devices. They checked for hidden electronic devices and RF interference and found nothing. Larson passed the polygraph test from start to finish with no abnormalities. The investigation team reviewed the footage frame by frame and found that he could always predict the outcome half a second before the lights locked in. He would show emotion in advance, yet they still couldn't figure out why. In the end, the TV station paid out the full prize money. Afterward, the production team urgently scrapped 5 fixed-loop sequences and upgraded to 32 patterns. In 1985, Press Your Luck completely overhauled its system, implementing an encrypted true random number generation algorithm to completely eliminate any predictable loopholes. This incident triggered a shake-up across the entire American variety show industry. Top shows such as Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and The Price is Right all overhauled their randomization algorithms, upgrading encryption systems and improving fault tolerance mechanisms. By the end of 1986, all major American TV game shows had completed upgrades to their randomness architecture. Yet Larson's life, which rewrote the industry's history, did not reach a perfect ending. On June 18, 1984, he successfully cashed in all his winnings and bought property in Ohio. He invested the remaining funds in a number of speculative ventures, but lost money on all of them, and ultimately fell back into financial hardship. In 1999, Larson, only 49 years old, died of cancer in a Florida hospital. That's all for this episode. See you next time.